So let me start. Maybe I should be calling names now. So I can see Wechuli. Wechuli, how are you doing today? While I wait for Wechuli's voice to come around, I think Deborah is actually on my screen. So hi, Deborah.
Yeah, Emmanuel, good evening.
Good evening. Forgive me for putting you on the spot, but you just perfectly fitted there.
Sorry, I'm having a terrible network here. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah,
good
nice
evening to all our speakers. Good evening.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Abdul Latif, how are you doing, sir? Abdul, can you hear me? Yeah, just indicates I'm taking attendance. 5 marks. All right, who else wants to just say hi before we start the whole session? I'm not taking this. Okay, I'm not starting this session again. Since nobody wants to greet me. Oh, do I look like an elderly man? Can you take off those glasses?
You look like an elderly man. That's
why. Sure. Now I see. Hi, Elsie.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm good. Nice to have you around. Thanks for breaking the silence. Okay. So I think.
Hi.
Hi. Yes. Who is that nice person? Is that Alvin?
Alvin.
Alvin. You know what that reminds me now. How are you doing today? Okay. Nice to have you around, Alvin. I hope you make the best out of it.
I'm still guessing.
Sorry? You're still guessing. Let me remind you, Alvin and the chip.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, Alvin. Yes, I heard someone's voice. What's that?
Yes. Hello, good evening.
Evening. Bridget, right?
Yes, this is Bridget in Cemento from Uganda.
Oh my goodness, all the way from Uganda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay too. Thank you very much. Well, Bridget, it's nice having you here. I hope you make the best out of today's session. So I think I'll just stop here with Bridget because of time. Our speakers are around, so we don't waste much of our time. I think Debo is around. Is Titilope around? Can you help me with that?
Yes, she's around. She joined like 2 minutes ago. She's around.
Okay, so I think we just have to quickly start this now. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to Flourish Opportunities Network in partnership with iDiscover. And this happens to be our scholarship hack 6.0. So if you haven't been with us right from day one, which was the 1.0, 2.0, 3, 4, 5, 6.0 doesn't stand to be different. In fact, it stands to even be more amazing because we're having 2 amazing scholars who are actually alumni of the Washington Fellowship program. And so they're here to just give us the nitty-gritty, the in-depth understanding of what it takes to be a Washington Fellow. So join me as I milk welcome 2 of our amazing guests. We have with us here Adebowale Oparinu. So I will just be reading their profile. But I me, I won't be doing this alone. So Debo will be here to assist me. So let me start with Adebowale. So Adebowale is an entrepreneur with 3 years experience in managing cross-functional teams in fast-paced environments. He co-founded Life Proof Food Meals, a social enterprise that leverages technology to scale up the reach of indigenous African products to the world. He is a 2019 yearly Mandela Washington Fellow, US, and a 2018 Ashoka West African Changemaker. Adebowale is currently a scholar at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management, where he is deepening his management and entrepreneurial skill. Please join me as I make welcome Adebowale. So Adebowale, you can just say hi.
Manuel, thank you. Glad to be here.
Right.
Hi, Motoke. Well, when you read Motoke's profile, you realize we've been in exactly the same program.
Yeah, I'm looking at the profile now, I'm like stunned. I need to collect autograph, but let me just.
Right. Hi, Motoke. Glad to be here.
All right. So permit me to share Omotoke's profile. So Omotoke is a Mandela Washington Fellow, Outstanding Global Youth Ambassador for the Award UK, Ashoka Changemaker Exchange Fellow, and a Robert Stephen alumni. This is serious. She was awarded the Essex County Board of Choosing Freeholders, New Jersey, and also awarded as the International Associate on Civil Leadership at Wagner College, New York. She served as an advisor for Youth Opportunities in Nepal, a community youth organization that is focused on growing today's youth for workplace readiness. Omotoke has spoken at international conferences, including the Make Impossible Possible Summit at United Nations General Assembly, the Concordia Summit at Grand Hyatt, Voice of Women at Wagner College. She also had an internship opportunity with the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability at Philadelphia, USA. So I just saved the best for the last. Please help me welcome Omotoke Tetilola to the stage. The suspense. Hi, Omotoke, are you around?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you.
It's really a pleasure having you around. Thank you so much. So Adebowale just exposed you and said that your profile outbeats his own, and I think I really agree with that.
Don't mind.
So for all our guests here, I present to you the two amazing people that will be speaking to us today. Please try to listen up to everything they have to share based on their journey so far and how they made it possible. At the same time, do well to also take down questions that you want to ask them, because there'll be a session for questions as well. So we might have two sessions in between their discussion, so please feel free. So for Omotoke and Adebowale, I think I'll allow you guys to decide how you want to go about it. If you want to take questions in between your discussion or probably after, I'll recommend maybe after. At the same time, I don't know if you want to do it together or probably who wants to go first and just talk about it. By the way, Osita, you're here with me, so you could also help in facilitating this as well. So thank you. So I'll leave the door open to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, I think in the spirit of saving the best for the last, let me go first. Okay, glad to be here. Just a very brief explanation about my journey with applying for the Mandela Washington Fellowship looks like. It started, I applied when I was in final year in school, and that was in 2018, so I was still a final year undergraduate student. And that kind of puts me in a position that was a little bit, I would say, disadvantaged, because the Mandela Washington Fellowship usually requires people that have been working for a few years in terms of like impact and stuff. And the ideal age range is usually between 25 to 35. In my case, I just clocked, I think, 21 at the time. So I simply just needed to make a strong case, a totally different case for my application, because obviously I could not compete on the metrics that they will use to judge most people, right? And which is why I just like to say it as my own story. So I don't know if me telling you my story would be as beneficial as you want it to be, but I really hope there are a few things you might be able to pick from it. So at the time, since I didn't have like any really solid experience to present, I just needed to focus more on selling the potential that I carried as a person and the business I just started carried as well. But I think what was much more interesting for the reviewers of the Mandela Washington Fellowship at the time, as well as even during the interview, was the fact that what I was doing at the time was very simple, yet very unique. And maybe just to provide context, I would like to explain a little bit of what LifePro was about. So LifePro produces Iru, which is African locust beans. It's known as Iru in Yoruba, Dawa Dawa in Hausa, and Sumbala in some parts of West Africa, right? And this product has kind of remained in the same form long before I was born, long before my parents were born. We've always had the Iru in those small nylons or leaves and sold in the market. Of course, it had its own inherent limitations, 2 weeks maximum in terms of shelf life. It had the smell that most people do not like, just especially when they put in their fridge and things like that. And of course, you would probably have to rinse it before you put it in your food. Again, look at the problems with the products. They are very, very basic problems, right? But of course, all of us have always known this is a very nutritious product. And just because of these scenario limitations, we made a case for why the product is not scaling across board. And what did we do? Very simple. We used the hydration technology to extend the shelf life from 2 weeks to 1 year. And then we're able to process hygienically in a way that you don't need to rinse before use. And that was it. That was pretty much all we did. And of course, we branded it in a very, very nice way, in a really interesting way, honestly. And we're able to now get NAFDAC number, place it in a number of stores and things like that. And my entire Mandela Washington Fellowship application was just telling that story, in essence. So at the time when I applied, we had been in existence for just about 3 to 4 months. We had won 5 billion naira at the platform Nigeria, 2.5 million naira from Premier Up to kickstart what we're doing. At best, in terms of traction, we had only run like pilots. We did not even have our full main packaging yet. We only had like pilot packs that we did in 15 naira packs and sold on campus at the time. So typically all we focused on was, one, telling the story of how we had tried our best to be as innovative as possible in terms of solving local problems. So yes, very local, very simple problem. It's a product that exists, has always existed, but we were simply taking that product, removing the barriers around it that stops it from scaling beyond its current market, and then, of course, taking it beyond that space. But the additional thing that we did, which I felt was very important in the selection for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, was the fact that we're not just producing a product, we were working with women in rural communities to do so. And that meant that we kind of had our value chain divided into two. A major part of the value chain had the women in rural community pre-process the locust bean seeds while we finalized processing at our factory, which meant the more money we made, the more money they make as well. And I feel that was like a really strong combination of two things. Yes, they are very, very simple things. We've all heard of these things many times. There are so many models that are similar, but one, it was first a unique problem, a very simple, unique problem. Two, there was that simple innovation without having to break the bank or anything. It was just basic. We were using basic dehydration technology. We were setting up systems that, we were setting up systems that could just process in a neat way. And then most importantly, we're working with women in rural communities to do so and helping them earn extra income. And I can mostly share my application from that time with most people. When you look at my application today, you still see that exactly that same story is exactly what I told in the simplest way possible. Also because I completed my application a few hours before the deadline, so I didn't exactly have time to think about it again or ask anybody about it. I just wrote that story in the most genuine way I could, right? And I feel like those things are maybe some of like the most important things that you have to consider when writing a Mandela Washington Fellowship application. Try to be as genuine as possible. I know there's always the pressure of wanting to put a lot of big numbers and a lot of many, many things that we have done. Maybe even as a student, I had volunteered for this or worked on this project or competed in the arts prize and all of those things. But maybe this is not necessarily the time to somehow cramp up everything, right? Maybe it's just the time to focus on something that you've genuinely have cared about out of a lot of the things you have done. And maybe you have some level of track record for that. Or in my case, you have some level of like something that shows potential, right? So if as a small SME that is not even a tech-driven, exactly, not really a tech-driven solution, we had raised about close to $20,000 at the time. within just 2-3 months of starting by winning competitions, then that kind of showed potential. It didn't show impact yet. It didn't show experience yet, but it showed potential, right? So maybe you just wanted to focus, you want to focus a little bit more when writing your application on things that are just kind of very unique to you, like what message are you trying to pass across? In my case, I was trying to pass across uniqueness, local problems, impact, and innovation. And I feel my application kind of, as simple as my application was, it kind of referenced those things. And even when I went for the interviews as well, I was in my local traditional clothes with my fila and all of that. And we were just really joking about Yoruba culture and how the direction of my fila meant I was not yet married and all of those things. But you realize that it was already a pre-notion they had from reading my application that, okay, this guy stems from relatively a rural local background. He's solving a rural local problem, and that's who he is, right? And everything I said in the interview also resonated with that. So, and I think I'm just going to wrap up on that note, right? That I think the last most critical thing in this is, how do you write in a way that they know you are telling the truth? And the reason why I'm raising this is because during my time, I know 11,000 people applied and only 56 of us were selected. Now, when you imagine 11,000, and by 11,000, I mean 11,000 from Nigeria. I think across Africa, it was about 30,000 or a little more. But yes, 11,000 from Nigeria alone and about 56 were selected. And what you realize when you're receiving or reviewing 11,000 applications is that you definitely have a lot of people that would lie and throw in a lot of numbers and things like that. And of course, the question would be, how would they know? Well, I think it's going to be a case of maybe with experience over the years, they already, I feel this is not confirmed. They never told me this is exactly what it is. But my idea of the situation is that they already feel most people would lie. And the moment they start seeing red flags, they pretty much just probably will waive off the application. So what I'm trying to say in this case is, if you're stating certain facts about your track record and all of that, do you have links that you can put in the references that can substantiate those things you're saying? So it's not necessarily just about throwing a lot of numbers around, a lot of results around. How about putting results that are actually verifiable? And you don't give them an opportunity to even question those results, because somehow you have already portrayed state up with a few links here and there that they can check and can confirm whatever it is they have said, or whichever way you want to present it. So I think I'll just stop there and let Omotoke go on. I'm sure you'll hear an even more unique story.
All right, thank you very, very much for that, Adibwale. So I think I can see the uniqueness, what makes it very much unique. The story is enough to captivate anybody. So if I had 1 million naira, I invested in you now, but sorry. Okay, so I think I'm not doing this alone. I have Deborah as well. So Deborah, probably could just welcome Omotoke as well.
Okay, good evening, everyone, once again. Welcome, Miss Omotoke Titilope. Would want to have you share your experience with us. I don't know if you're there.
Hi, I'm here. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
The
So
floor is yours.
very fine. So I'm just going to pick up from where Adibawale stopped, and actually I have planned to go through all the questions and just to give people an idea of what each question spells out, because the truth of the matter is, they will not ask you, please give us the number of people you have impacted. Do you get? They will not ask you, please, which community do you currently work in? You as a person must be able to have the ability to read in between the lines and to be able to form your stories together, because they will not ask you those questions that you are waiting for. And this is how people miss the opportunity of this fellowship. So number one thing I want you to remember is that you will not see where they will ask you, so please, how many people have you impacted so far in your work? And then you begin to, all these things have been embedded somehow in some of the questions that they ask you. For example, the first question that you are being asked is already saying something about Also, the first question you are being asked is already saying something around the space of tell us your professional experience and why did you choose this particular field that you work in. That alone is automatically letting you know that they are asking for a brief intro about what you do and why you do what you do. You understand? So, and you want to really tell them. And another thing I want to really say at this point is this: remember to always reference COVID-19 in your application. Because if you do not reference COVID-19 in your application, that means that throughout the time that COVID-19 happened, you were not doing anything. Nothing happened to your organization. Your organization, among all the organizations in the world, escape COVID-19. You are the alpha and the omega. So you really want to let them know that, oh, yeah, so you have been doing this particular work in this community, and this is what made you to do it. But then COVID-19 struck your business, and then you were able to re-strategize. And let me quickly say this again. When you mention a problem or a challenge, quickly let them know how you were able to tackle that challenge. For example, there's a question where they ask about how have you been able to work in teams, working with diversity, inclusion, and all of that? How have you been able to work? So you want to give them an example of, oh yeah, you're a team spirit person, you love diversity. There was a time you worked with A, B, C, and D. Though there was a little bit of challenge that want to come up because people are from the same ethnic group, people reason differently, but you were able to solve it. Do you understand? So you need to be very, very tactical. Let me put it that way. You need to be able to say few things. Then don't forget your numbers. Numbers are very, very important. Do not forget your numbers. So you want to be quoting how many people you have impacted so far. So you want to tell them like, okay, in 2017, when we started our work in a rural community in this particular place, we were reaching out to 500 children in a year, but over the space of 2 or 3 years, we've been able to reach out to 1,500 children. Or you want to let them know that when you started your work, you were probably producing Iru. Let's say, for example, let's use Iru. You're probably producing Iru in the local community, but over the past 2 years, you've been able to rebrand and reprocess the whole thing. And I've used Iru from Adebowale before. He actually gave me for very, very good, I want to say. So this is everything you need to be thinking, that your uniqueness must be well spelled out. So let me take myself as an example. I work in the educational space, but I do not just stop my work there. I've narrowed my work. I work with children with disability. Even disability, we have over 500 disability. I've narrowed it down to autism. Now, the problem that I've seen in a lot of applications is that people want to do everything. In your question 1, you talked about maybe the fact that you work with school children. In your question 2, you are making another example. Learn to ensure that your story flows. You are telling a story. Ensure that it flows through. Pick one aspect or one part of your work and explain what you have done so far on it. So I stick with autism. So when I start my work, I let them understand that, oh, I started this work because I have a friend who has a disability, and that my not go to school. She was actually chased out of school, and she could not continue education. And by the time I get to question 2, I was letting them understand that I started this work in Owuroshoki, but now we've expanded to other communities. We started in 2016 by reaching out to 5 schools. Now we've been able to reach out to 20 schools. Still the same story, but I'm expanding it for them to see different areas. Even when they ask me questions on diversity and inclusion, I let them understand that because we work in diverse community, we work in diverse places, trying to ensure that children with disability are going to school. So we meet with different parents, we meet with different school owners, we meet with different, you want to continue that because that is the only way people will be able to relate with it. But I've seen that a lot of application, we are talking about fish farming in question 1. By the time you get to question 2, you are talking about education for girls. By the time you get to question 3, you're talking about maternal health. All the stories are just disjointed. There's no correlation, there's no collaboration, there's no continuity. You want to make sure that and lastly, I want to talk about having an edge in your application. See, a lot of people are doing a lot of amazing and wonderful things, but you yourself need to think, how do I stand out? For example, for me, I stand out in the area of disability. How many people are into disability rights? Do you understand my point? So by the time 500 applications are sent into the portal, and trust me, over 11,000 people have applied yearly for this application. By the time they filter through, maybe 10 people applied in the area of disability. By the time they filter through again to look at application, they make sense. Maybe 5 people make it for interview. By the time they get to interview and they see the way I am speaking, they see the passion, they see the confidence, they see that I know my numbers offhand. You know, a lot of people make this mistake. A lot of people make it to interview, but because they would have forgotten the stories that they told during application, then their stories begin to differentiate. They said something else in their application, they are saying something else at interview level, and that is why, and that's what makes a lot of people not to be selected. So I think I'll stop at this point, and I will just say that if we have people who have the question for the application, you can just send it to the chat board, so that when next I'm talking, I'll just try to point out on each of it. Thank you.
All right, Ma, thank you very much. I think we all had her, even though we had some noises at the background. So please, if you have questions, like she said, please, can you kindly drop your questions in the chat box now, so we can have her and Mr. Debowale attend to them, please. Emmanuel, do we have any questions already?
I have questions from my end, and it's going to be pretty much interesting. So,
okay, please.
I think I'll direct this to Adeboale. Adebo, with regards to your application, what are the key things that you try to look out for before you make your applications, in essence? So before you applied, what were the key things you had to get ready, put in place to make your applications? And while you're also doing the application, were there other things you actually looked out for as well? So let's hear your secrets.
Okay. I'd be lying if I said I was very strategic about my application. I was not. My main battle was first fighting the idea of, do I think I should apply or not? Like, do I feel qualified enough to apply or not? And I did not feel qualified until the last day when the deadline was finally here. No, but back to the point, just going back in retrospect, because it's easier to connect the dots looking backwards, right? So while I was not exactly intentionally strategic, I see a few things that might have been strategic that I did. And I think one of the most critical ones was definitely the reference links. I can't overemphasize that well enough, because the reference links always add a way of, I believe, just validating everything else I'd said in some sense. So there was that. I also went through the approach for simplicity. Like, my application was very simple, like very, very, very simple. If a GS1 student read it, he would understand exactly what I'm doing, how I was doing it, have an idea of who I am and all of that. So there was no big English, there was no complex stuff. It was just too simple, honestly. So I feel that was an advantage in some sense. And the message I realized I was passing across in the end was, again, which Omotoke mentioned earlier, is that you just have to be very unique. I'm sure out of the 11,000 applications, if they ever got anyone else that was working on Iru and doing it the way I was doing it, then it would be maybe another one or two people. That's all, nothing else. So I think uniqueness was also a great advantage. So I think I've been able to mention 3 things that I think were strategic. Number 1, reference links, showing exactly, validating everything else I said. Number 2, a very, very simple application, no complex words, everything was just pretty much straightforward. And the final one being Not forgotten. Yes, the final one being very unique, exactly. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Adebowale. I think, Omotoke, do you want to say something with regards to that? Were there special things you had to put in place before making applications? Did you require any document? Did you have to talk to anybody, any referencing, any mentor?
Okay, like I said, different things work for different people. During my own time, I did not use any reference. You understand? So, but if you are using a reference, you have to use somebody who you know that will write something very good about you, probably maybe a past fellow. But during my own time, I didn't use any reference. And that is why I say that, see, all these things, your story is what matters. Because even somebody has written you a very beautiful reference, but in your application, you have written like nothing to write home about. It still does not align. You get my point? And I think another thing you want to do is this: when you have finished writing your application, send it to somebody that does not even really know what you are doing. If that person can read the application and understood what you are trying to pass across, then trust me, you have written your application well. And I like to say this: all of us will not be selected for the Mandela Washington Fellowship at once. Some people had to apply like 3 to 4 times. I applied once and I was selected. I think Adeba Wademi probably he applied once too and he was selected. The most important thing is, and let me say this, if you have applied for this fellowship before, these people have your application with them. Don't try to lie. They have your application. No, if you have applied 3 times, they have it. Because by the time you are finally selected, they are going to even send you an email for you to tell them, for them to let you know that yes, they know that this is like the 4th or the 3rd time you are applying, that they will even like for you to grant an interview with them. So to let them know what you did differently that made you finally get selected. So please don't lie. You have to keep up with the stories you have been telling, and you have to keep improving. So if you're not improving with the stories you have been telling, they know that you are just a lie. So I think for me, it's all about, seriously, you have to get your story part right first. When you get your story part right, your impact, your numbers, especially why do you want to be selected for this fellowship? I think a lot of people mixed it in that place. And that is another unique way where you tend to stand out from the crowd. Why do you think we should select you? I think they asked this year by saying that, okay, what is that one thing that you want to go and gain in the US that you would otherwise not have gained in your own country? You understand? So, but if you now start telling them that Nigeria is a bad country, you have tried all your best. Yes, I don't laugh. You know, I've read application where people said their country is a bad country. They want to really go away from the country so that when they, I'm like, yeah, so you want to go and escape. You know, some people have escaped through this fellowship and they are nowhere to be found. Yeah, they didn't come back to their country. So that already give them a red flag that this one will not come back home. So those are the things you want to watch out for. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tilobe. I think that was very sincere. The one thing I picked from is that grace of applying once I getting it. So all of us will get that kind of grace. So, all right, I think I'll be very generous to allow everyone ask their question by themselves. So I have a question from Ridwan. Ridwan, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? After Ridwan, Ade Damola, please get ready.
Yes, please, I would like to ask my question. Thank you. So my question is this: in one of my personal statements, where they asked what in the year 2023, what I would do with my experience at the fellowship. So I wrote that I want to come and motivate about 10 business startups in my community. Do I have to expatiate on the type of business startups I want to motivate and encourage? Because I'm filling up for my first point of priority as business. So do I have to expatiate on the business startup? Does it have to be, do I have to say provision sellers? Do I have to say patent medicine stores? Do I have to say pharmacies? Or I can just leave it as 10 business startups like that? Thank you.
Okay, I think I can try and I'll attempt to answer your question. I believe that the more detail you can provide, the better. And because you're trying to make a very compelling case, right? So maybe not just even telling us what kind of small business, maybe a little bit more about why that is even important to you. Like, why are you focusing on that and not this, something of that nature. So the more detailed your answers can be, and the more compelling it can be, then the better, I believe. But in trying to answer that kind of question, personally, I would prefer to not say it from what I will do, and maybe just start from a storytelling approach of, oh, it's December 31, 2023. I had returned from the Mandela Washington Fellowship 1 year ago, and then tell the story like you're sitting at that point in time backwards, and really just describe exactly what has happened. So I feel that as a way of being more compelling than simply just telling the story that you were asked to tell.
All right, thank you very much, Adebowale.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great one. I think you got your answer. Adedamola, do you want to go next?
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Okay, my question, I would like to know what the Mandela Washington Fellowship professional development experience is about. Because while I was trying to apply, I saw that and I was not really clear about that. Is it like an internship or maybe a subgroup or something? I don't know.
Okay,
Hello?
so, yes, we heard you.
All right.
I think Omotoke would be in the best position to answer that.
Okay, so the PD, it's called PD, Professional Development Experience. It's just like an internship. So you get opportunity for 6 weeks to go and intern in an organization in the US. For me, I did my own internship at Philadelphia. So I work with their Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability because I was in the disability space. So that gives me more opportunity to learn how are they providing services for people. So it's just like an internship for 6 weeks with and only 100 people get selected for that. And that is also based on where they have partnership. You understand? So for example, now if you are into tech, they might have partners in tech that they will post you to. So it's not really compulsory for you. You might decide not to apply for it. It's an optional. So you might decide not to apply for it, and you might decide to apply for it, but only 100 people are selected for it. Others will come back after, when I say 100, I mean 100 people in sub-Saharan Africa. In Nigeria, only 50 or 60 people will be selected for the fellowship. Then maybe 5 people in Nigeria will make it for the PDE. You know, this application is in sub-Saharan Africa, and in sub-Saharan Africa, they select 700 people. So that is how it is.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Adebo, are you there?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You were in Kenya, like that was in June this year. So we have someone from Kenya here, Moses, and I think Moses might want to ask you a question directly. So Moses, can you go ahead? And by the way, how is Kenya, Moses? Hi, Moses.
Sorry, we can't hear you, Moses. We can't
So
hear
Moses, we really can't hear you. I think the network is bad. I thought it's a Nigerian thing. All right, so Moses, probably I'll permit you to just read your question, but it's great having you around. It was actually glitching. So Moses says he's actually in a refugee camp at the moment in Kenya. And so he would like to know how possible from the refugee camp. So is it possible? Surely it's scarce to get such opportunities. So how and where can one start from in order to benefit from the Mandela Washington program? So Adebo, I don't know if you got the question right.
Yeah, I did. And it's very interesting when you say you also come like from from that kind of background, because I feel that even gives you like a prime position to be able to benefit from such opportunities, because now you have to really do is present a case for what you are doing or what you have done or what you will do to help not just yourself, but everyone around you at the refugee camp. So it's pretty much about that commitment to impact in some sense and development, and actually just pretty much doing the work. So I think the core is, I don't know if you've been able to do a lot or anything at all in terms of improving things around you, or just pretty much committing to impactful work in general. If you have not been able to do so yet, I feel it's a good time to get started. If you have already done a bit of that, it's just a good time to iron out your story and present it in the most genuine way possible. And yeah, even if you have not really done much yet, write your story, paint a good picture of what can happen on this path that you have chosen. Make it so compelling that the Mandela Washington Fellowship wants to be a part of it. Like they want to see you 10 years from now and point to you and say, oh yes, that guy is a Mandela Washington Fellow. We supported him 10 years ago.
All right. Thank you, Adebola. I think that was aptly put. So now, Moses, if you can hear me, I'm sure you got that pretty much. Yes, Bridget, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It has been my first time to attend a webinar like this, and I am humbled to be here. So I wanted to know more about this. When I am to attend this conference or this internship, do I have to have some business startups, or there are some other qualifications that I have to be able to attend it?
Okay, thank you. Who wants to hit the question?
Okay, I guess I can go first and then Motoke can chime in. Yes, there are 3 different sections for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And again, it's pretty much not just the internship, right? I did not do the internship, for example. I didn't apply for the internship. I had the normal 6 weeks, which is you spend time at an American university that you'll be posted to, and then they'll connect you with everyone in and around that community, business leaders, civic leaders, public leaders, all of that over the 6 weeks period. And then everything ends in Washington, DC with a 3-day conference. And then you have the opportunity for the internship as well if you're selected for that. So that's like the core brief of that. But the fellowship is divided into 3 different tracks. There's the leadership in business, leadership in civic engagement, and leadership in public management. I was in leadership in business, and you have people in the other sections as well. So if you are going to apply for leadership in business, then you most likely have, say, a business startup or something, or you have worked in one and you have some track record of actually contributing immensely in that one. If you want to do the one for public management, then you most likely have worked with, say, a government agency, or you're working at a government agency, or you have just done something related to public affairs in general. If you're doing something in civic engagement, so you most likely maybe run your own NGO or work for an NGO, or you just have proven track record of civic engagement. So I'm trying to say there's no one size fits all for any of this. It's a case of whatever your experience is, try to find which of those buckets it fits into, and then present your case.
All right, so thank you, Adebola. So if you have any questions, please, we still have 15 more minutes to go, perhaps less, but I just want us to just tackle the questions with regards to the application process based on Omotoke's request. So I'll be sharing my screen right away, so everyone can just have a look of what the questions are. So can we all see my screen? Can I at least?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
All right, okay.
Manuel,
So
Manuel.
yes, we can. Yeah, I
I
can
think
hear you.
Omotayo Adefenwa, I don't know. I think he or she posted a question. I don't know if that has been attended to.
Okay, so let's say that. And so
That's
if you have a,
Omotayo Adefenwa.
so Mota,
Yeah,
if you okay, go ahead, please.
okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I have a few concerns. I listened to what Omotoke said, and I quite agree that the story has to go systematically. But my concerns are actually with the second question that it was talking about your track record and the skills that you hope to gain. You know, at the beginning of those questions, they talk about plagiarism. And the way I answered it, I also used, like, is it advisable to use some of the, what's it called now? The aims of a particular track record. Take, for instance, I picked business, the leadership in business. And part of the things that were discussed as some of the aims were like business ethics, sustainability in business, and all that. If I'm answering that question, is it proper for me to also use those language, you know, in answering my question, or I should look entirely away from them to answer that question? Now, on the aspect of, I think where I'm stuck right now is the, what's it called? Is the conflict resolution aspects. You know, I'm trying to see how it will also flow, you know, in everything in line with business, but I don't know. It's quite, should I pick another storyline entirely of something I've done in the past? Because I know that there was a point in the application that they were asking for your 5 preference place of is it place of attachment or something that you pick from a series of topics like business, marketing, advertising, public health, and all that. Is it advisable to also tell a story alongside with one of those things that you have picked, you know, from that aspect? Thank you.
Okay, so who is going to answer a question? Adibowale or Mrs. I forget Adegoke. Sorry. So Adibowale, please, can you take the question?
Okay. So yes, 2 parts to your question. The first one being about the skills. I feel that it is not going to be strange for you to pick out some of the skills that they have promised in that section. The question would be, why those skills for you? And I feel that's the case you want to make. So the question you're talking about, I believe, is an essay question. So if you're saying business ethics, why business ethics? Because I want to be able to do ABC and so in future, and I believe this is going to be important for me. If I choose sustainability, why sustainability? Because I believe strongly this is happening to this, or my experience in this. Of course, you want to make it short and stuff, but you want to also have it personalized. So yes, it's good to go through what they have promised in terms of the skills you can get in each track, but then how does that directly relate to you? I think that's the approach for that question. Have I answered your question?
Yes, you have. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
I think.
Then there was a second part. What was it? Just so
the second part is bringing, you know, there was this list of other aspects like that you'd be interested in, you know, that they asked you to pick the top 5 that is valid to you.
Yes.
Now, if in answering the essay questions, you decide to, you know, write a true story that probably, like myself now, that I pick leadership in business, is not related to business, but related to public health, where I have done volunteer before. Is it appropriate, or should everything just go in line with business?
Usually, I think it is great if you use it as an opportunity to actually say something outside of business. Yes, I think both of them have their advantages. If you have made a compelling enough case for yourself as a business person through the other essays, then this is a perfect opportunity to simply talk about your coverage resolution skills outside of business. I think it can be, I wouldn't answer the question independently. It would be good to see how that links up with everything else in your application. So I believe, yes, you are free to write it, and that's absolutely fine. But the other thing would be, you want to be sure that everything else you have written makes a good enough case for you to be in the leadership in business track.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, sir. Emmanuel, please, can you share the screen?
Okay.
Please help us advise us on how to answer these questions, how best to answer them, Sir Adebowale and Ms. Omoguke. So for the first question, give a brief description of your professional background and current work. Why have you chosen this work? Please, how well can we answer this question, this first question? So I think I'll direct it to Sir Adebowale.
Okay, just for the sake of it, I'm no sir, I'm just Adebowale, but yeah. Okay, please give a brief description of your professional background and current work. Why have you chosen this work? The way it went for me, because I'm sure we had a similar question like this, was simply trying to immerse them in my story. So I did not assume, when I say Iru, or I say something about Osun State or whatever, I do not assume that they would exactly know what that is and get the exact context to it, right? So again, you want to provide as much context as possible without saying too much. My approach to this would be that you just want to first start from your line of, like, your personal background, try to link that up with your professional background and how it motivates your work. So they usually, not just the Mandela Washington Fellowship, but a lot of applications usually prefer when there is an individual motivation or a personal motivation behind the work you do. So I feel like the story you're trying to tell in this case should most likely start from what your personal background is. Help us get a context of who is Adebowale first before his work. So if Adebowale says he's the first child of a lower middle class family in a suburban part of Southwest Nigeria, that brief description gives a little bit of context to who Adebowale is. And then I can now go from there to tell a story of how my mom used to make the hero just for family alone because she did not like the one in the market, and how I did not need to think outside of the box to actually just start the business and take it to scale. Instead of her just doing it by herself at home, I could just learn directly from her, find a way to automate that with technology, with basic technology, and then use it as a model to empower people. So you can just see a train in that starts from who I am, my personal motivations, and how that links with my professional background and current work. I know there are word limits on this. You don't have the opportunity to say everything, but yes, you want to be as concise as possible while providing context.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Sorry, Ma, please, can you take the next question? I don't know how brief we can be about it because we are running out of time. Is she there?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so the next question is, okay, let me read it. I was hoping that you just go through it to save us time. Okay, so the next question is, the Nelson Mandela said, "It is in your hands to make a better world for all who live in it. What are you doing to improve your community?" I don't know if it can be merged with another question, if there's a way that can be done to save us time.
So like it has been said already from what Abidebo said, you want to, like I said earlier, you want to continue let your story flows. So question 1 has already asked you about your professional background. You want to let them know maybe you study this and this in school. Sometimes your professional background might not relate with what you are doing currently. We have someone who is a lawyer, but now is in mental health. You have someone, but you want to let them know that though you studied law, this is the reason why you do this. So from there, they're not trying to ask you that, okay, fine, what are you now doing currently to improve your community? So here you want to give a specific example of in 2018 or in 2009, you remember this particular thing that happened. Or maybe if you are in business, you want to tell the story of how maybe you started your own business line of making akamu, that is pap, by adding more nutritional value to it. When maybe your daughter suffered from food poisoning while you were trying to give him some local pap outside, or you are into maternal health and everything, you want to make a story of how you saw somebody who had maternal issues, died from maybe giving birth, or the person was not rendered some certain help, and because of that it really touched you, and that was when you started what you're doing. So you want to, like I've already said, you want to make examples that are practical, that people could read and relate with, and then you want to let us know what you did. And because you saw that, you started talking about maternal health in different communities. So far, you started from this particular community because maybe that was where you grew up in, or maybe that was where you experienced the scenario firsthand. But now you've been able to move to other communities, and so far you've impacted over 500 people. Like I said, they will not specifically ask you how many people have you impacted, but at every point in time, you want to let them know what you're doing. And then once you have answered what you are doing presently, you also want to chip in a line of what you hope to do. You understand? You want to let them know that, so far you are in this particular community and you have reached out to 500 people, and now you are planning to go to another. So that shows that they know that you are planning continuity and sustainability for your business. So let me quickly go through question 3. I'm sorry, I'm using my phone, so it's difficult. He said, what do you want to, what role do you want to play in your community? Let's say in the next 10 years, and how are you currently achieving this? So you want to quickly give them a breakdown of what you are doing. What the major thing they are asking for is, why is your business important? Like, how important is this business that you're doing? So let's say, for example, you are somebody who supply maybe schools, supplies to schools, for example, textbooks, book and all of this. You want to let them know that, so far you are supplying about 10 schools in rural communities, these books and pencils, and without it, they will not even be able to write, because a lot of people don't even look at rural communities to know whether they are learning or not. So you want to expand, you want to get more resources, you want to get more support to be able to, do this, and you are going to achieve this by, you want to give them steps, at least chip in 1 or 2 steps. For example, you want to let them know that you are going to leave your community and source for more people that will be producing for you or giving you materials at a lower cost. You want to form partnership and collaboration with other people to be able to expand your business. And you hope that in the next 10 years, you will have reached out to over maybe 500 schools, reaching out to over 10,000 children directly or indirectly. If you are into business, you want to let them know that maybe you produce, let's say, for example, what can I think of? You're into agricultural business and you produce maybe some food like gari, like all this essential food. You want to let them know that, for example, you are currently producing and giving out to rural mothers and they are reselling, which is giving them a source of income. In the next 10 years, you want to scale to brand it up, because when you brand it up, these rural mothers also can sell at a higher price, by thereby giving them money, and they are able to also pay for their. So you want to be relating what you are doing to how it's actually making impact. These women are not going to be making money, just money, but they'll also be able to provide for their livelihood. They will be able to send their children to school, and they'll also be able to live better lives. Do you see? So you want to be able to relate those stories together. I think Adebowale can take the remaining 2.
All right, Adebowale, please, can you continue
Yeah.
from where she?
Yeah, okay. So yes, describe how your participation in Mandela Washington Fellowship would influence your activities when you return home. Yeah, so I think this specifically also links a little bit more with the previous question, which is about what role do you want to play in your community. because the answer to this would simply be, I have already described through SAC that I'm going to do A, B, C, D in my community. And of course, I'm joining the Mandela Washington Fellowship to be able to empower me to do those things. So you just go straight into a little bit more detail about the exact things that you would experience. In my case, there were two things that I highlighted as the things I would specifically gain from the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which would influence my activities. And the number one of that was exposure. Like I went on and on describing how much exposure I believed the Mandela Washington Fellowship would give me. And then networks. That is, for me to be able to achieve ABCD that I described in terms of my goals and all of that, I would need the network. So that was it. So I streamlined it into those two things. For you, you might just look a little bit more in depth into what exactly are those things that would help your case. And I think to wrap this up, which is the final question, is Nelson Mandela was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for working with leaders in this, was able to forgive those who, and this has to do with conflict resolution, if I'm right. Exactly. So mine related directly to my business, and I simply just presented the case of how I had done something in business at the time, and it was not going well, and it had led to something else. I feel for this particular one, just make sure you tell a very specific story. That's all that matters, that actually fits into what they have asked for. Maybe nothing too complex, just tell a truly genuine story. Either it relates directly to the business you have talked about in the first four essays or not. Just try to make sure that what you're saying is your story exactly as it is.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Emmanuel, please, you can take it up from here.
Okay, so thank you. Debo and Omotoke, I really appreciate your time spent here. Just permit me to just probably use 1 more minute or two to take some few questions. So Moses asked a question about, so will the applicant do description in form of video or a presentation or an essay form? So maybe just very quickly, 1 sentence line, do they need to do in description?
I didn't need to. As far as my application was concerned, I don't think there was any video. But I pretty much think, like, let your creativity kick in. If you want to add a video, feel free and explore. What you're trying to do is stand out, right? So why not if you have a good idea of a nice video?
Okay, and finally, I know there's an interview, Steve.
Sorry,
So can you just...
Sorry, let me add to that. And I'm just going to in the other round. Also, be careful not to put too much information out there, because sometimes we put so many information out, and at the end of the day, you end up shooting yourself in the leg. Do you understand this point that I just made? Because people that are reading your applications, they are first going to be giving it to fellows to read. Fellows are going to be reading 40 applications within 2 weeks. So people do not really have like lots of time. So me, for example, if I'm reading an application, if your first story is disjointed from your second story, I just quickly rush down to the last story. If it is disjointed, I will just go and pick the lowest score for you. You are not going anywhere. So I'm just trying to say that don't put so many information out there that you ended up shooting yourself in the leg. Videos are not really required, just like the way reference are not really required. But the major thing, and I keep saying this, is your essay, because at the end of the day, what we are going to receive as reader is your essay and your CV. That is what we are going to receive. Then your CV also. Make sure you put your CV in order. If you have listed any job that you have done, you want it to reflect in the CV you'll be submitting. Because as readers, the only thing that will get to us is your essay and your CV. The rest, we are not going to actually be seeing it like that. Maybe the videos or whatever it is that you're adding to it.
Okay, wow, that was really interesting. So not only do we have as our guest speaker, we also have as an assessment, someone a part of the assessment committee. So please take this as a double opportunity. So like I was saying, the question with regards to the interview, how was the experience like having a video interview with the assessing committee? So just brief quickly, thank you.
Okay, mine wasn't a video interview. It was physical at the US Consulate, Consular General's office or whatever at here in Lagos. And it was pretty much very interesting also because it was physical. I went to my product, put it on the table, and we had, of course, it was more of a casual chat. I'm also like a very casual person in some sense. So our conversations were not that serious. It was pretty much just getting to know you and really test and see that indeed the things you have written is very, very true to you and very, very genuine. And that was it. At least that was my experience. It was very simple, not stuck up or anything. Just went in and we joked a bit and stuff, and that was it.
Thank you so much, Adeboale. Omotoke, anything about your interview? How was it like? What are the questions like?
Yeah, so for your interview, I would say once you get email for your interview or text message or a phone call, go and say please, before submitting your application, make sure you save a copy. You have a copy with you. Once you have received the message for interview, go back to your application and read. In fact, I had a mock interview with like 2 or 3 people before finally going for my interview. They have asked me so many questions. They have drilled me. But even with that, I still went to the interview. I was shaking because questions were just coming from left, center, right, back. I shall try. Then also ask for favor. Let me say this. I think sometimes you cannot rule that out. Ask for favor. Even when you have said rubbish, see, they will still say something in you that will make them feel like, yeah, because for my own interview, I was not that very eloquent and fluent because I was not like this then. I was so scared that, hey, God, this one opportunity to go to the US and try. That tension was there. I was nervous. But then there was somebody on the panel who felt, oh, this lady is just fidgeting, but I think she really knows what she's doing, and there's a great chance that she will do well. And that was how I passed my own interview. So get your application, know the numbers you have written down, know the stories you have told. So that when they are asking you, because they will put your application in front of them like this on the day of interview. But once you just miss yarn like this, know that you're out of the door. That is it.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think I'm just going to grant us one permission to someone to ask this question. Please, can you just allow me? Ernest, you typed a question, but can you just go ahead and ask the question so that they can get you better? Make it quick, please.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, so my question is from the discussion so far, although I've not been really in, I've been coming in and out, I've been quite busy with some other stuff. So I want to ask, so is this only for people into maybe some businesses or something? What about those in corporate firms? Perhaps you are working in a young industry. For instance, in Africa now, renewable energy is quite young. So for someone in such a space, does that work out for them too? Something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to give a start.
I think the answer is absolutely yes. We answered this earlier as well, that it's pretty much about you finding exactly where you fit in those 3 categories and making a compelling case for yourself. If you are in a renewable energy startup that say makes money and is expanding and all of that, either it is yours or not, either you just work there or you are the co-founder, just tell your story. I think that's what is important. You can easily fit in leadership in business for that. If it's a renewable energy NGO, maybe you fit in the civic space and all of that. But the idea is just really you can see that these questions focus a lot more about you and focus a lot more on you and all of that. So maybe you want to focus on just giving a compelling story, that's all.
All right, and this brings us to the end of our discussion today. Thank you so much to our wonderful speakers, Omotoke and Adeboale. It's really a pleasure having you around, sparing your hour to speak to us, despite how inconvenient it had been. And to all our guests here who are also giving their listening ears all over Africa as well, thank you for making this an opportunity. So quickly, I will just say, we have few partners here who are with us. So like I said, this is in partnership with Scale Up Africa and iDiscover. So I'll just welcome Elsie to just give a brief understanding of what Scale Up Africa is and how it can also benefit each and every one of us here. So Elsie, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or evening, wherever you are. So it's been a really great session. Really enjoyed both the lessons that they both shared. I appreciate what Esther is doing with Flourish. Well done, kudos to the team. So basically, I think I'll just talk about what we do at Scale Up. Scale Up Tribe, or Africa as we call it, is an organization that's focused on impact. Basically, what we do is that we provide access to opportunities, jobs, and resources for young Nigerians. So, and during the lockdown, I noticed that there was a huge gap between the information that people have access to and people who really need the information, right? So I created the platform to enable young people to scale. So you're looking to scale, you're looking to upskill and get information that help you become better in your professional and personal development. That's what we do. So basically, we have platforms we're on Instagram at Scale Up Tribe. We're also on LinkedIn. We're also we have a newsletter where we share insightful tips. We share opportunities, and we share resources. Our community is growing fast. So yeah, basically that's what we do at Scale Up. So if you really you're passionate about becoming a better version of yourself, especially for those who plan to apply to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, you should definitely join the tribe. You get access to opportunities. We even share scholarship opportunities and many other things that will help you become better and grow and lead and learn. So if you can reach out to me also at LC Ogai on LinkedIn if you have any questions, or at Scale Up Tribe across our platforms if you have questions or you have anything you want to ask us at all. That will be all for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elsie, for that. Deborah, please, I think you could just talk to us about iDiscover.
Okay, good evening, everyone, once again. I think basically, I'll just give a brief understanding of what iDiscover is. So iDiscover is an edtech social enterprise, and we're focused on empowering, training, and also educating African youth. So like I think Scale Up is more about Nigeria. We're covering African youth on job, internship, and scholarship, and also grant opportunities. So we are not just about scholarship, we're about grants, providing access to these opportunities, and also training people. Like this training we're having now online, we have our on-site and we have our online trainings on opportunities, how to access opportunities, how to access grants, and the rest of them. So I think I'll just drop a link to our site at idiscover.com, and also a link to our Telegram platform, a link to our WhatsApp platform. So you can join any one of this group that I'll be posting later on the chat box. And thank you so much for having me. I have our founder is here. That's Mr. Abdulatif Lawa. I don't know if he's still here, but I think I saw him. Yes,
yeah, he is. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Adebowale. Thank you, Omogoke. Sir Adebowale. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having you guys here. Thank you.
And finally, Osita, please, your final vote of thanks to everyone. You're muted.
Hi, everyone. Please don't be distracted by my background. This was Emmanuel's idea. Uzim, you see, it's not working. All right, so my name is Osita, and I am the co-founder of the Flourish Opportunities Network. Uzim here is one of our co-founders. And what we're trying to do at Flourish Opportunities Network is to provide access to postgraduate scholarship opportunities. I will tell you something that is very interesting. At the moment, only 8% of sub-Saharan African countries have access to or have completed university education, only 8%, as opposed to the global average of 30%. And human capital development is typically based on skill sets, and the more education you have, the better equipped and skilled you are. Africa is set to become like one of the largest hotspots for young people that are going to be within the working age by 2030, but we don't have the capacity in terms of skills, the number of young people that have the right skills to actually be able to move us to the next level. That's exactly why there's like a conundrum. You have a Nigerian education, but sometimes you can't even still get a job these days. The master's is now the new BSc in Nigeria, and that's like really part of the challenge. And the more we look at it, the more we realize that foreign education tends to have more preference with employers over the normal education that you can get in your country. So what we're trying to do at the Flourish Opportunities Network is to create Africa's largest scholarship database to help Africans everywhere to be able to access different schools that provide funding opportunities so that they can both get the skills that they need as well as quality education in those institutions abroad. So thank you for coming to the Scholarship Hack 6.0. We're going to be holding the next one and we'll keep you all in the loop. Thank you. So please, before I go quickly, I've sent the link to our WhatsApp group because we have a small community. So if you'd like to join the WhatsApp group so you can have updates to the different information that we share around the different scholarship opportunities, you can just click on the link and join us. And then when we are doing the next scholarship hack, we'll be sure to also keep you in the loop. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. So from me, this is Scholarship Hack 6.0, and it was a success. Please stay tuned. We'll still have more coming for you, more interesting guests, more interesting opportunities. And trust me, this is coming to you at the best quality and best opportunity for you. So thank you. My name is Emmanuel Ozim once again, and I can't wait to see you in the next round. And at the same time, see everyone scale up for the Washington Fellow. So do have a great evening. And
yeah, great evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Alvin. Moses, I think I might have to connect with you.
Can we record of that, please?
Sorry?
The record of that, can we have so that we can go to through the
Is it the recording?
Yes.
Yes, that will be made available as well. So at least probably just be on the chat so that in case the link will just be shared as well. So you can join the WhatsApp group.
Via our mail or WhatsApp group?
Yeah, so mail and also the WhatsApp group as well.
All right.
So there'll be a few. Thank you very much. We'll also check out Flourish Opportunities on YouTube as well. So we have more of our recordings there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, people. It's nice having you all here. At least you made my evening. Let me wear my glasses back so I don't look old again. Okay.
Emmanuel, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Deborah. I'm going to miss you. Not for long, just for a minute, because I know I'll still see you again.